In today's video, we're going to be making some really cute kitty paw resin shakers. And one really interesting thing about this mold is that it doesn't have the part that makes a mold a shaker mold. It actually comes separately. Now, I did buy this mold off of AliExpress. It was one of those late nights, can't sleep, on your phone scrolling, looking for cool things to try with resin. And I came across this mold and thought it would be pretty cool to try it out and record the process and share the process with you guys. And that's what we're doing today. So let me give you guys a close-up of the silicone inserts. They're really cute. They're little kitty toe beans, and this is the part that's going to make the resin pieces into shakers. Now you do get 8 of these because there are 8 cavities, and this all does come as a kit. So you get the mold, you get the silicone inserts, and you get 2 different types of film. The first film is a really pretty iridescent one, and they do come pre-cut. As for the second one, it's the shaker film, and this is the one that's going to keep all the little bits and shaker oil inside the resin piece. I've never made a resin shaker with a mold like this where you have to insert a silicone insert to make the shaker part. The molds I do have that are shaker molds already have that built in. Let me quickly grab one. As you guys can see, this middle lifted part there, that's what makes this mold a shaker mold. And yeah, so this is going to be really interesting to make, and I hope you guys will come along and see the process. So let me go ahead and get set up, and I'll be right back and we can get started. One thing I've noticed about this mold is that these 4 paws here have a shiny finish to them, and these 4 have a matte finish. So what I'm thinking is we'll make 2 of the shiny and 2 of the matte, and then at the end we can compare both finishes side by side and see what the different results are. So the focus of this first layer is the cute little toe beans. I'm going to be using Let's Resin Epoxy since it doesn't take too long to start curing and being able to pour our next layer. I mix up my resin with blue and purple pigments and then pour them in just enough to fill the toe bean cavities. Now, as you guys will see, this part did get quite a bit messy. With it being winter here in Canada, my craft room gets super staticky for some reason, and that's why the resin went all over the place. But luckily, cleaning it up wasn't too difficult. Baby wipes and 99% rubbing alcohol works wonders at removing uncured sticky resin.
Three hours later.
For this layer, all I'm going to do is pour a thin layer of clear resin so that tomorrow when it comes time to add the iridescent film, it has something to stick to. One thing I'd love to know from you guys is, are you a cat person or a dog person? I personally am a cat person. I have 2 cats and I love them to bits. I'll quickly put up a photo of them. Aren't they the cutest? Also, if you're a resin crafter, have you ever made resin shakers? I know they can be a bit tricky, and I have a couple of friends in the resin community that avoid them altogether, but I'd love to know if you make them and enjoy the process.
Tomorrow.
It's now the next day, and our kitty paws are ready for the silicone inserts. Just look at how cute these little toe beans are. And I just wanted to quickly show you guys how pretty the blue and the purple look like in the light. They're absolutely gorgeous. I just love how vibrant they are, and this makes me super excited to see the final results. But before we add our silicone inserts, I'm going to go ahead and put in the iridescent films. Okay, so we do have to change the plan a little bit. I've been at this for a little bit with my needle tool trying to remove the protective film from the iridescent film, but it doesn't seem like these have any, so we're just going to lay down a small clear layer of resin, put them in, and then we'll go ahead and put in the silicone inserts. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the silicone inserts. I hope you guys can hear me and understand what I'm saying. I am wearing my respirator, so I apologize if my voice does sound funny. But I just wanted to quickly point out how the silicone inserts are also shiny and matte. So these two are shiny and these two are matte. And yeah, so let's just hope that I don't get any air bubbles trapped underneath them. And now I'm going to add just a little bit more resin to bring that resin up to the top. All I'm going to do now is make sure these silicone inserts are centered, and then I'm going to cover it up. And then I'll be back in the morning and we'll go from there.
The next morning.
Good morning, guys. So today is the day that we're going to finally finish our kitty paws. It's Friday and I actually started working on this on Tuesday. So it's been about 3 days and we still won't be able to demold it until tomorrow or quite possibly the day after. But this project does take quite a bit of time and I actually rushed it. So it could have taken longer. But today we're going to be taking out the silicone inserts, putting in our baby oil and the little shaker bits, sealing that, and then pouring the last layer of resin. Okay, so I got the silicone inserts out and the kitty paw shakers are looking pretty good. We're almost at the finish line and just look at how cool that effect is with the iridescent film. That's pretty cool. Now we have been left with some air bubbles, but that's okay. I'm not concerned about it. I'm more concerned about the lip of resin we have here along the edges. I guess I didn't put enough resin in there to be leveled with the silicone insert. So we may have a couple of issues when it comes time to putting our shaker film in there. Normally when you have a lip like this, it's harder to get a proper seal with the shaker film. So we're just going to go with the flow and hopefully it all turns out pretty good and we get the proper seal. Okay, so we're now at the part where what I'm doing is brand new to me. I've never filled and sealed shakers while the piece is in the mold. All the molds I have to remove the piece first and then I can fill them, so this really feels alien to me. That lip of resin really did make it hard to seal the shakers, especially since the sharp edges weren't even, so it's definitely something I'm going to have to practice and figure out how to fix. Now, filling the shakers with baby oil was easy. It's one of my favorite parts in the making resin shakers process. I used my needle tip tool to make a hole, then used a toothpick to make the hole wider so that the needle tip of my bottle would fit. By the way, this needle tip bottle is such a time saver when it comes to filling shakers. I used to use syringes to fill my shakers, but ever since I started using these bottles, I don't make much of a mess. Plus, it holds more baby oil, which means I don't have to fill them up as often. Another thing to keep in mind is when filling shakers, try to avoid spilling baby oil on the outer part of the film. Baby oil and resin don't mix and can leave your resin looking cloudy if you pour uncured resin on top of it. Another thing can also happen, but be sure to keep on watching to the end because it did happen to me with these kitty paws, and I do talk a little bit about it at the end. Okay, the shakers are filled and now it's time to pour our final layer of resin. So because we had all those air bubbles in the last layer, I'm going to change the resin we're working with and I'm going to use the T-Export Deep Pour Resin. I want to make sure no pesky air bubbles block our view from the lovely bits that are inside the kitty paws. Okay, my lovelies, it's now time to demold our cute kitty paws. Unfortunately, there's not much of a reveal. It's what you see is what you get. But let me quickly get them out and let's take a closer look at each one individually. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the blue ones first. Here we have the shiny one. You guys can see that beautiful shine. You guys can also see that iridescent film doing its thing. It's changing color in the light. Here we have the matte one, and I'm really loving this frosted look. It actually makes me want to buy more matte molds so I can make more matte resin pieces because that looks really, really cool. Now turning them over, they look really cute. All the little pieces are moving in there, but at a closer look, we can see a lot of micro air bubbles. Now, I'm not that concerned about the micro air bubbles. I'm more concerned and annoyed about these bigger ones here along the edges. They came from when I was putting in that shaker film, and because we had that lip of resin, I couldn't get a proper seal, and now we're left with these annoying air bubbles. But I did get a suggestion. I was complaining to my husband the other night about what had happened, and he suggested that before I go in with the shaker film, first go in with a layer of UV resin, level out that lip, cure it, and then once cured, put in the shaker film, and then I should have a better seal because that resin should be leveled and a lot easier for the shaker film to stick to. It's a really good tip, and I hope you guys find it really useful too. Or if you have your own tips, please comment them in the comment section down below so we can all learn from each other. Now onto the frosted one, or I mean matte, and this one has its own story too. So when I was filling it with the baby oil, I made a mess, and I guess I didn't clean it properly because when I came in to demold these, I saw that there was all this baby oil left on top. And as I was cleaning it, I noticed that the baby oil had left some indents on the resin piece. And to me, it looks like that bubble technique I did in a previous video. Funny thing is that someone asked me earlier this week if we could do the bubble technique with epoxy only, and maybe this is the answer. That looks really, really cool. Now moving on to the purple ones. On this side we have the shiny one, and then on this side we have the matte one. And one cool thing is that the shiny one has a lovely smooth finish to it. And as for the matte one, it has a more textured, more rough feel to it. You guys should be able to hear that. Now turning them over, we do have the same mistakes. We have the air bubbles. We have the indents from the baby oil there, but that's okay. At least the little bits on the inside are moving around. Nothing got stuck. So if you're making resin shakers, that's definitely a bonus that nothing gets stuck in there. Overall, I really enjoyed making the kitty paws, even if it was frustrating at times, especially with that shaker film. But I'm definitely going to keep on practicing. I love how they turned out. I think they turned out really, really cute, and I'd love to know what you guys think. So be sure to comment your thoughts down below. Now, before I go, I just wanted to quickly point something out, and as you guys can see all the layers that I poured. And this layer here is where all the micro bubbles are at. And this layer here barely has any micro bubbles. And this is the layer that I did the deep pour with. So definitely next time I make any kitty paws, I'm definitely going to be pouring all the layers with the deep pour resin. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys learned something today. If you did, please give this video a big fat thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys!